Welcome everybody to the Wake Up Call channel. Quote, "The world has won. New international regulations to protect against pandemics finally approved." I've been covering this for quite some time now. This is not the aforementioned pandemic treaty that has been signed, but as I'll play for you in some of these clips, you'll hear them say that the pandemic treaty will be finished by 2025, but what they were able to accomplish here is to set more regulations, more international health regulations, and you could see the disgusting clips of them celebrating as if they just won the Super Bowl. And of course, we know what this is really about. It's about taking sovereignty away from citizens. It's about giving our rights over to a bunch of unelected psychopaths who use the word science to have control over all of our lives. And one of the key things that they talk about with the international health regulations is the ability to have disease surveillance. Sharing information about civilians is what they're really saying. Who was where? Who went there? Who was this close to that person? And this is really just about creating an even larger surveillance state on top of what we all know is mass genocide. So watch the clip from the World Health Assembly's meeting, how this ended after they pretend that they were up all night and they've all lost their voices. I mean, it's absolutely sickening. But the world has won, and our grandchildren have won, and their grandchildren have won because of what they've just done here, which again is giving up the rights of civilians over to people that we don't know, we didn't elect, and we certainly don't trust. So for future generations, congratulations. Mass genocide is in the future. Listen to this speech. This is how they wrapped up the World Health Assembly meeting.
I have lost my voice. But it's a small price to pay. Because tonight we have all won, and the world has won. And I offer you all my warmest congratulations and my deepest gratitude. You have made history here today in approving a strong package of amendments to the international health regulations. You have strengthened the cornerstone of international health law. In doing so, you have made the world safer. The pandemic agreement is not done yet, but I have no doubt it will be. You have charted a clear path forward, and you have demonstrated your clear commitment to finalizing it. The success of the IHR working group should give the IND confidence that you can get this done, and you will. The time frame that you set yourselves was extremely ambitious, and rightly so. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is international law. So even if it takes another year to finalize the pandemic agreement, and I don't believe you will need that long, you will still have achieved a lot in very short time. Both of these processes, the IMB and the IHR, are a historic achievement for you and a gift for our children and grandchildren.
So it's important to note on top of that despicable speech, I mean, that's posted from the World Health Organization's own social media accounts. And look at these people celebrating and hugging, right? This diverse group of people, of course, who are celebrating and hugging. I didn't see too many white-skinned men in the room, but if they were, I'm sure they're very feminine men. But look at these people celebrating as if they're bringing something to us. And of course, again, a lot of people don't seem to understand what this is. And they just read some of the articles that are out there and they say to themselves, whoa, okay, well, what this is really about, what they're arguing about is how to fund magic potions for third world countries who can't get it, because it's not fair, right? That's what they keep saying. It's not fair. Third world countries don't have access to this, and we need to get them access to it. Well, on behalf of America, I think a large portion of the population would say, you could take all of ours and give it to them if they want to willingly poison themselves. Now, we don't want anybody to be forcefully injected like they tried to do in the United States of America. But of course, that is the case in every country, because really there's just a small percentage of sheeple who are willing to poison themselves willingly over and over and over again. But for them to pretend that this has something to do with other countries not being able to get access to it, that's just a way that they make you think about fairness and equity. These are all just terms that they use to distract you and trick you. Nobody out there wants this potion. Nobody out there, I mean, they're telling you that they're going to create these laws, and all of a sudden the biggest thing that we have to worry about is outbreak after outbreak after outbreak. How come 20 years ago nobody was worrying about this? How about 30 years ago, 40 years ago? All of a sudden we need this, right? And we need a government, a global government of unelected people who are going to watch and monitor. So the other thing that Tedros said, which is very important to note, listen to Tedros about anybody who's anti-magic potion. And that's the biggest threat moving forward. So don't be surprised. We talk about censorship and the removal of anybody out there that disagrees and talks about it. Of course, we've all been proven right, which is the absurdity of the upside down we're living in, is that nobody listens. We've already been proven right numerous times. In fact, I know people like myself were talking about this outbreak way before it ever came, because if you actually were paying attention, they were talking about creating one back in the early 2000s. They were talking about nanotechnology back then and how they were going to need to get, I mean, it's incredible. But still, people out there refuse to listen to anything that we say. So listen to Tedros here talk about the need in the future. And we know what this means. This means laws in place. This doesn't mean, hey, we need big tech to remove any videos that talk against the vax. This is more like, hey, if you speak out against this, you're a dangerous threat. And it might sound crazy, but remember some of the stuff that I've covered over the years. And if you are new to this, we have countries that have laws in place that if you say something against a certain group of people, that you could be imprisoned just via words. If you use words that might sound anti-you-know-what, you can get arrested for it. If you name somebody with the wrong gender or pronoun in places like Canada, you can be arrested for it. So that's what this is going to head towards, because they can't have anything out there, anything that speaks against this, because this New World Order infrastructure doesn't work unless the Internet of Bodies is working as one. And that means human beings connected to the internet. But listen to Tedros here about the dangers of anybody out there who's critical of what these scientists are trying to do.
But you know the serious challenge that's posed by anti-vaxxers, and I think we need to strategize to really push back, because vaccines work, vaccines affect adults, and we have science, evidence on our side. I think it's time to be more aggressive in pushing back on anti-vaxxers. I think they use COVID as an opportunity, and all the havoc they're creating. Maybe that's one of the messages also I would like to include to whatever I have said.
So it's amazing how fearful they are of people like me and you. I mean, they literally are so fearful of actual truth. It's the biggest threat to them. That's the biggest threat. And I always look at it and I laugh, because I say, they have all these government trained agents on the news, all the celebrities. They're so unlikable. I mean, yes, we know that some of the celebrities' influence works, obviously, on a lot of the sheeple. But these people are so unlikable that they can't even convince people out there. What they have to do instead is silence people like us, take our followings away, make sure that we can't communicate with other people because we speak so clearly and simply. They start going, yeah, it does kind of make sense, right? Isn't the definition of one of these things that they want us to get supposed to make us immune? And now all of a sudden, what? We hear words like mutate. It's just they make it up as they go is the point. And people start actually going, oh yeah, this is weird. Why all of a sudden is it, and then tell me a little bit more about this technology you're speaking. And then they start going, okay, there is something to this, because they're so over the top desperate, and the way they present themselves is so pathetic out in the open, especially when they deflect on truth, especially when they come out and they're like, we're not trying to put chips in people, and you have Bill Gates and these guys coming out and even saying stuff like that. I never understood how in the world they thought that that would work, even bringing attention to it. It's an admission of guilt. Because then some people were going, what is he talking about? What? I didn't hear that. Is that true? And then they start going, wait, look at all these, look at all these articles from the Gates Foundation, from these science magazines that talk about the ability to do that and how in the future they want to do it. And wait a minute, what is this Neuralink thing? Oh, okay. So Tedros and company, that's really one of the first things that's going to come out, I believe, from what they just signed. The world has won this new international regulations that they signed. Again, it's not the pandemic treaty yet, but it's the same thing. I mean, let's be realistic. They just gave themselves more international rights over the civilians who have no say in this whatsoever. And the people who are in that room who are supposed to be working for you, I'll guarantee you that none of them were actually voted in and put in that room. But again, it's the give and pull, right? Oh, they worked all week and they stayed up all night. Oh, and thankfully they came to a conclusion. And guess what the conclusion is? Mass genocide is on the schedule. And if you're not going to be compliant this time around, well, there's going to be things in place for people who aren't compliant. And that's what he's referencing when he talks about how they need to do more to combat misinformation, right? Instead of just letting people make a choice. Because again, this infrastructure doesn't run unless people are hooked up to it, okay? And they're going to get you to hook up to it. Other people out there just look at this and they're like, oh, they're just trying to kill everybody. Well, there's truth to that because it doesn't take in a lot of people. But they need to get the tech, they need to edit what you are. So after 2 years of intensive negotiations, including long nights this week, the World Health Assembly, WHA, finally passed amendments to the international health regulations and committed to completing pandemic agreements within a year. After failing to agree on the amendments before they opened on Monday, member states have been racing to the finish in a drafting committee during this week in meetings that often went into the early hour. I love when they use propaganda like that. Into the early hours. I'm sure they were up in the early hours. Okay, what do you think? They were sitting in a room in their suits and they were just talking back and forth at 3 o'clock? No, they were up in the early hours. The lights were off and there's probably a giant circle of fire that had a lot of children inside of it. That's probably what they mean. It's not probably, it's definitely what they mean when they say they were up to the late hours because there was nothing that was even being debated. It's just a matter of convincing the public that they're there trying to iron out these rules and laws to protect us. So people think, oh, that's how mind control works. That's how it works on the sheeple. They're debating about, I hope they push it through. I hope they can get these potions for third world. They just read it, they take it verbatim, and then they thank these people. They're like, I thank them for going and meeting. Somebody has to do it because, I don't want to get sick, even though I never saw anybody falling dead in the streets while all this stuff was going on. More of a psychosis than anything else. And of course, nobody ever mentions the shedding aspect of it. I'm waiting for the day that Tedros comes out and explains to his audience out there that love him what shedding is, but we're supposed to believe that it's not real, even though science tells us that it is real. So Tedros, as you heard, said, tonight we've all won. The world is won. The world is now a safer place. The IHR is a legally binding international instrument aimed at preventing the international spread of disease and requires countries to conduct surveillance for potential international health threats of all kinds and report those to the WHO. That's the key word, conducting surveillance. It's more rights to the government, more surveillance over you, where you travel. And again, for people out there, they're like, I don't really care about surveillance. I got a phone on me. Okay. You'll be locked up if they decide that you're in a zone that they deem not safe, which they'll do. And they'll come and they'll say, look, we saw on your phone you were within a mile of a lockdown zone. So now we need to bring you to a FEMA camp. And now we need to do this. And you're supposed to go along with it. You're not allowed to even fight back against it because these people are doing it for your best interest. And most people hear this and they just roll their eyes because they go, that's never going to happen. And it's not going to happen to me until it does happen, right? Sounds like people who hear about a crime being committed, right? And they're like, oh, my kid got abducted or something like that. They hear these stories and they're like, that'll never happen to me, right? That person's an idiot. That'll never happen to me until it does. Until it does happen to you. And then you go, I should have been more careful. I should have been more protective. I should have paid attention to these things. I shouldn't have let my kid go out without me around, etc. Right? That's how people think after the fact. But in today's world, nobody thinks about after the fact because they laugh everything off and they're told that everything's a conspiracy until you realize that you don't have any rights anymore because you were dumb enough to listen to the machine that's telling you that all this stuff is great and wonderful, and anyone out there that questions it's a danger to society. And all people like me and the people who listen to this channel are trying to do is inform you, okay? Once they take an inch, they'll take 75 trillion miles, or in their case, 666 million miles, because they're not going to stop. All it has to do is be in place, and that's what this is. So the previous outbreak showed weaknesses in the IHR, including it did not mention the word pandemic. Member states submitted over 300 proposed amendments to the working group of amendments to the IHR. It says the amendments to the international health regulations will bolster countries' ability to detect and respond to future outbreaks and pandemics by strengthening their own national capacities and coordination between fellow states on, again, disease surveillance, information sharing, and response. It says the amendments include the definition of a pandemic emergency, the highest level of alarm that will trigger more effective international collaboration in response to a disease outbreak that may become a pandemic. Solidarity and equity, okay, they're the words again. Then people go, oh, yeah. Oh, what? They're not giving any magic potions to black people? Is that what it is? All the white people are hoarding it, even though the majority of white people don't want nothing to do with it in America. The majority, okay? At least 50% want nothing to do with it. But, you know, this is what they do. They they manipulate people of color. They manipulate women. These people are disgusting. And then they make all those people think people like us are sexist and racist. And all these are the ones who are. These are the ones who work you and manipulate you. Look at this. Solidarity and equity on strengthening access to medical products and financing. I mean, oh, did anyone know that they were running out of money making the potions? They were giving it away for free. That's how desperate they are to get it in people's bodies. Okay? And we know that they were giving them out in third world countries for a fact. Bill made sure of it. So by coordinating financial mechanisms to help address the needs and priorities of developing countries to prevent, prepare, and respond to outbreaks, the States Parties Committee will set up and facilitate the effective implementation of the amended regulations, including the creation of national IHR authorities to improve coordination of implementation of the regulations within and among countries. The experience of epidemics and pandemics from Ebola to Zika to the 19er and Mpox showed us where we need better public health surveillance, response, and preparedness mechanisms around the world. Countries also agreed to extend the mandate of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Body established in December 2021 to finish its work to negotiate a pandemic agreement by 2025 or earlier, if possible, at a special session of the Health Assembly, which will occur in 2024. So it's coming. I said this the other day. I mean, it's not, it's not rocket science. This is part of the problem that we're having is that a lot of people see victories in some of these stories, okay? So then they just sit back like they're not going to win or they're not going to do this. Everything is going the way it's supposed to go. It's all scripted, okay? So the only way that there's a win for the people is if the people stop participating, they stop putting their emotions into MAGA and thinking that these elected people are going to help us out, and the people do something about it. That's it. And that's the thing that they fear most, which is why they're so hell-bent on manipulating you into worshiping people like Trump. And they know exactly how to do it. They're masters of mind control. People out there don't give them enough credit. And that's part of the narcissist problem. A lot of people don't think that they're smarter than they are. They master mind control. And they know every time they persecute Trump out in the open, you're going to support him even more. And that's why they even come out in the polls. They go, can you believe it? Trump's even more popular than ever. Trump is, and then, of course, the whole thing is just going to go the way that the script is scheduled to go, right? Instead of civilians stopping it from occurring, they want you to think that the people who are in power are working for you until it's too late. And that's coming sooner than later. So what I was saying is that, so many people out there were like, it fell flat in its face. The pandemic treaty didn't work. They never got it. They never came through. And it's like, oh, okay, are you listening to what they're saying there? It's coming through. It's in fact through, just with a different name, right? This whole thing, the Intergovernmental Negotiating Body of people who are not elected in the first place, they literally are telling you, well, the international health regulations, we just changed them. And you go, oh, okay, but that's not the pandemic treaty. It's not? It's the same. It's pretty much the same exact thing, where they've just taken more authority over now how they could watch and monitor surveillance on civilians. Oh, and then they go, well, that's just to make sure, like the movie Outbreak, if somebody's in the Congo, that they don't get on a plane, or we catch them and we lock them up. And then people just go, well, that's a good thing. We don't want it to spread, right? And you just go, do you trust these people? I mean, would you trust, Adolf if it was him or somebody else you've been told through human history? And I say that, loosely, not him specifically, because what we hear about any of these people, we can't believe. Let's say Stalin. I mean, if it was any one of those people, right? If it was Trump doing it, all Democrats would be like, no way, right? So why are we to trust these people? Because he's got a nice mustache? Right. Because we don't understand science, we're told. Even though it was proven to us that the science that they told us was a lie. They changed it as they went. They came up with words like mutate. They told you if you got it in the beginning, you'd never have to worry about it again. Then everybody got it, and they blamed everybody who didn't get it, which makes no sense according to the most common science, which is that if you get one, you're supposed to be immune to it. Then you just kept going and going and going, and everybody was just too distracted trying to figure out what a man and a woman were, and if men could actually have babies, then to say, hey, this seems like a work. Why are they telling us this? They just told us that, then they flipped. They told us we didn't need mess, now we need, and it going on and on and on. And everybody fell for it. Not everybody, but the majority of people did. Instead of going, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. These people are out of control, and they need to be stopped. And who's giving them the authority? Well, guess what? The compliance is nobody doing anything to stop it. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always, and your families.